Welcome to everyone to our final meetup of 2020 for the IPFS project. We have a lot of presentations today. A few reminders first. Super excited to have you all here. Remember that this and all events happening about by the IPFS Community Code of Conduct. Please do check that out if you have any questions. Make sure to always be friendly and welcoming to everyone in our community. If you have any questions while people are speaking, please try and use the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen to ask any questions so that our lovely speakers can quickly respond to anything there. We may not have time for live questions, but folks will get to you in the chat. There's a ton of these events over the past year. Please check out our YouTube page for all of the recordings. We will put these up on YouTube, lickety split. And so you'll be able to see those there if you have to drop off in the middle of things. And as always, please give us an email if you'd like to speak at future ones of these. All right, today's agenda, as I mentioned, we have a ton of speakers and they're gonna have to go real fast. So first we get to have working group updates on what they've achieved over the past year. We had a little bit of shift within the working groups themselves. So some people may be speaking for working groups from the beginning of Q1. I know that January 2020 feels insanely long ago at this moment, but we'll try and give a good roundup on all of the amazing things that were shipped across the IPFS project in the past year. And then we also have the kind of part two of our agenda for today is a lot of awesome lightning talks from people across the ecosystem, Textile, Pinata, 3Box, Birdie, and Fleek, telling us about all of the new things happening on their projects and in their corners of the IPFS ecosystem to give us a look back at all of the amazing things that happened. Today's theme is reflecting on 2020. So expect that as a common theme across all of the presentations that you will hear today. And to give you a little bit of a preview, I have a couple, I think 4 top level things and highlights that I wanted to share about kind of what I see looking back from the end of 2020 on all of the things that we have accomplished this year that I think really stand out and put the project kind of on a new trajectory as we go into 2021. So first off, looking all the way back to, I think, the February-March timeline of IPFS, a thing that we saw at the beginning of this year was a real explosion of people putting their websites up on the D-Web and making this 10x easier. Web3 has always had a little bit of a challenge when it comes to actually making it accessible to all types of developers to make use of this new technology. We really saw this starting to cross the chasm. Great work from folks like ENS, Unstoppable Domains, and Fleek to make this really accessible and easy for people to take any website and throw it up. There were new tools for uploading to IPFS. There were templates. There was GitHub integrations, forestry. It makes your life so much easier as a developer, and we really saw that that turn into many more people being attracted to this space and being able to make use of it. At the same time, we also saw some pretty cool new things being built in the web app space. And so Origin made it really easy to put up a D-Web shop, and Brave used that for their swag store. And then Opera went a step further and full on embedded IPFS // support on their Android browser. So now you can resolve IPFS links directly without any extra installs, any extra anything. So that was a really cool thing that we saw at the beginning of this year, kind of shifting who's able to participate in the ecosystem. What we saw kind of, second part of the first quarter, so kind of the May timeline, was huge performance gains. And this had all been in the works for a really long time and was very much based on the feedback and pain points that had been being experienced across the whole ecosystem, but looking at some of the bottlenecks in use of IPFS and making large performance improvements that really put those to rest, which is phenomenal. The big focus here was content routing, or finding stuff in the network and how to make it real fast. And hey, congrats to the whole team. We did make it real fast. I'm sure you'll hear more about this from Jacob later, but we went from many seconds, can't even benchmark how many seconds it was, down to 1.5 on for our 95th percentile of seconds to find stuff in the IPFS network. So that's phenomenal and a really amazing accomplishment for this team to really take an area of pain and turn it into something that people don't have to worry about. And a big thanks for that goes to TestGround, which was a new P2P network simulation tool that we were able to use to benchmark all of the improvements and protocol changes we were making and help really drive our attention to the points that needed optimizing and make sure that it was actually going to solve the needs of people in a large 100,000 node network, which is a big deal. Toward the second half of this year, a big focus over the past couple of IPFS releases and some of the work in P2P land as well has been around standardization and hardening. So as you probably have seen in the release notes, a ton of new things launched within the protocol to bring us up to new standards. We have Quick by default, we have TLS 1.3 by default, we added noise across both JS and Go implementations, and this is now across all of the different implementations within P2P, and we deprecated SecIO. So that's like a huge level up for the protocol in terms of just having really good, stable standards. And then kind of on the P2P side, there was a big focus on hardening with Gossip Sub v1.1, hardening that for all sorts of blockchain use cases for ETH2 and for Filecoin. And then for the IPFS, the DHT module as used in IPFS to make that hardened against all sorts of Eclipse attacks. And finally, here, just in the past couple of months, in the past couple of weeks, we've seen some awesome protocols launching, utilizing these building blocks to make them accessible to other communities and to take them another step forward in terms of providing lots of value. So Filecoin, Audius, and ETH2 have all been launching using IPFS and libp2p in the case of ETH2 as kind of the core building blocks of their networks. And that's been super exciting to see. And we have a great time working with these communities, and we are much stronger together. So thank you so much for all of the improvements that you help make to these core building blocks so more people can gain the value from them as well. Would be remiss if I didn't give you a tiny peek into some of these year-over-year metrics. It's really cool to look back and be like, wow, this has grown so much. Just looking at the number of people who are making use of the IPFS network every week, we've seen a 4x increase in 2020, which is super cool. We now have about 2 million unique weekly users accessing our IPFS HTTP gateway, which is just one of many. So who knows how many there would be if we all compared notes. All of the many HTTP gateways that are being run from many different providers. And there's hundreds of thousands of nodes interoperating in the IPFS network every single week. And now we get to welcome a whole crew of new people who are developing the ecosystem as well, thanks to a lot of awesome events like HackFS and the Gitcoin Apollo and other things like that. We've seen hundreds of new dApps enter the IPFS ecosystem, building really cool stuff and really taking it the next step forward. So we're excited to have even more of those folks presenting at IPFS meetups over the next year. All right, quick reminder in case this doesn't get brought up anywhere else. Thank you so much to everyone who's participating in our project planning process. There are over 20, probably I'm out of date at this point because I think there's more being added every single night, but as of last counting, 27 themes submitted to the project planning process, commenting and participating in here. I think over 35 community members are participating. Come make your voice heard, upvote some of the things that you think are great for the important initiatives that we need to pay attention to. And we're going to be continuing to synthesize themes and try and pull out the most important bits, make some really hard decisions about where we can spend our time, where we have bandwidth, and kind of over the rest of December and beginning of January, mid-January, we'll try and nail some of those things down in the course of doing some of the workshops with people across the community, and then flesh out our how in probably the early February timeframe so that we know exactly what we are going to take on and deliver to folks across the ecosystem. So big thank you to Kadir and David who are helping run this process. It's phenomenal. You may hear more about it in a second, I'm not sure, but please do participate. It's been phenomenal.